Hello and welcome to the challenge question for day 2 of the Year 6 Daily Maths Challenge. Among the fractions 21 over 22, 22 23rds and 23 24ths, which one is the smallest? Okay, well what I notice first of all is that all of these fractions are very close to 1, they're just a tiny bit smaller than 1. Okay, I know that because each of the denominators, for example, if I take 21 over 22, 21 is just 1 smaller than 22, so we're just a tiny bit smaller than 1. So actually, what I'm going to do, rather than perhaps finding a common denominator, which would be really quite horrible in this question, I'm going to instead see how far away is each of these fractions from the number 1. Okay, so if I start with 21 over 22, I'm going to do 1 minus 21 over 22. Okay, well then I know that 1 is just 22 over 22, from which I'm then taking this 21 over 22. So you see, I'll just end up with 1 over 22. So in other words, 21 over 22 is just 1/22 smaller than the number 1. Then if I do exactly the same thing for my other two fractions, 1 minus 22 23rds will end up just being 1/23rd. And finally, 1 minus 23 24ths will just equal 1/24. Okay, now these fractions I've ended up with are a little bit easier to compare. I know that 1 over 22 is going to be bigger than 1 over 23, which in turn is going to be bigger than 1 over 24. Okay, the reason I know that is because if you imagine taking a whole, splitting it into 22 equal parts, then each of those parts is going to be slightly bigger than if you split it into 23 parts. Okay, that's why 1/22 is just going to be very slightly bigger than 1/23, and for the same reason 1/23 is just slightly bigger than 1/24. Okay, well, because I know each of my 3 original fractions, if you look back at the question, was just a tiny bit smaller than 1, if I want to know which fraction is the smallest of the 3, I then want to find which is the furthest away from 1, or in other words, which one has the biggest difference between itself and 1. Okay, so because 1 over 22 was the biggest difference between any of these fractions and 1, 21 over 22 will actually be the smallest fraction here. It will be smaller than 22 23rds, which in turn will be smaller than 23 24ths. So the smallest fraction is option A, 21 over 22, and that is our final answer.